For a while now, I've been looking to upgrade the floor jack in my garage, and I thought to myself, while I'm doing that, why not go ahead and upgrade to an off-road jack that I can use on the trail as well? This offering, the Badland Offroad 3-ton jack, is from Harbor Freight, and it comes in at a very competitive price. But is it any good? Well, let's find out. So if you're new to this channel, I want to say welcome. We do Jeep product reviews, tool reviews, off-roading and overlanding, and Jeep shows, trying to show the Jeep lifestyle from that southern point of view. I also try to hold the highest degree of integrity when it comes to the products that I review. Harbor Freight did not send me this jack. They also did not pay for any portion of this jack. They didn't pay me to make this video. There is no affiliation between myself and Harbor Freight. This is a completely honest review when it comes to this. And with that being said, let's go and throw some specifications on the screen so you can see what this jack is really about. The Badland Offroad 3-ton jack is 6,000 pound load rated with a 29 1/16 maximum lift height, a 6 1/4 minimum lift height with a locking adjustable height extension as well as heavy duty flat free composite wheels. Available at Harbor Freight, this jack is made in China and it will cost you $319 at the time of this recording. So in this first test, we are going to pit our Badland 3-ton jack against this Pittsburgh floor jack, which has been a really good floor jack for me for a number of years now. So in this first test, we're going to go by pure lifting height. So first, we're going to start off with the Pittsburgh jack. We're going to lift up here on the differential, and we have chalked the rear wheels in terms of just making sure that the Jeep does not roll back anywhere on us. Now, as always, you'd want to use jack stands or some other type of supporting system whenever you're jacking up a vehicle. And when I get to the maximum height on this, I'm going to measure the distance that the tire is off the ground. All right, I think that is the top of the mark when it comes to that. So let's go ahead and measure how far the tire is off the ground. As you can see, the tire is roughly about 10.5 inches off the ground at the highest flex point of this jack. All right, now let's go ahead and turn our attention to the Badland jack. One thing to note on this jack as well is that this extension has 3 adjustable heights as well. We've got it on the tallest height right now so we can give the most accurate representation of this. But if your pumpkin was a little bit too low or your jack point is a little bit lower than what you thought, you can adjust this. All right, so now it's time to test the Badland. I did have to drop the extension down a couple of notches for it to fit underneath my differential. So this is going to be a true test because we're going to just add the distance that would be onto the end because that's ultimately how high the jack would go. So let's go ahead and start the test. All right, so with our jack fully extended out and on the lowest setting, we're looking at roughly about 16.5 inches of the tire being off the ground. So you can imagine maybe about another inch or so with those extra notches, you know, in the extension being set to. So that's the height challenge. So score 1 for the Badland. It's being able to lift your vehicle higher. All right, for this next test, we are going to see how easy it is to maneuver this jack. We're going to start off with the Pittsburgh one first. Now, if I'm rolling it out and I need to adjust it, I can roll it to the side, roll it to the side. I could spin it around in a circle if I needed to. While it is easy to maneuver, as you can hear, it makes a whole lot of noise. You know what they always say, the loudest sound on earth is a floor jack on concrete. And that's definitely true in this case. So let's see how the other one performs. As far as noise goes, there's almost no noise to this jack. It is super quiet. You know, you could even do work in the garage while people are sleeping, and I don't think you would wake anybody up. Now, where does this jack fall a little bit short? When it comes to maneuverability. It's not the easiest jack in the world to maneuver. You kind of almost have to pick up on the end in order for those front wheels to grab to be able to pivot and twist it. You just can't turn it like you can the standard floor jack. So that definitely, I think, is a point for maneuverability to the Pittsburgh, and I think it's a point for sound or lack of sound to the Badland. But Gary, I hear you say, this is an off-road jack, so shouldn't you be using it more off-road than in a shop? Is that why the maneuverability suffers some? Well, let's go find out. Okay, so for this next test, we are not in the woods, we are not in my Jeep, but rather we are over here in this patch of just recently cleared out piece of property that I have here. And we're gonna see how well these jacks roll over this type of terrain, which would probably simulate something that you would have off-road, at least here on the East Coast anyway. All right, so first things first, let's do the Pittsburgh jack. Already kind of tough with the small wheels getting into some of this. As far as maneuvering around, I think it kind of suffers from the same problem the off-road jack had on the surface, and it's kind of tough to push, and you almost kind of have to lift it around. So as far as mobility goes, this one is kind of limited in its mobility. Now it's time for the Badland jack. The Badland jack has no problem maneuvering because of its bigger wheels in terrain like this at all. Now, you still have to kind of lift it to twirl it around and to maneuver it, but as far as its maneuverability, it's definitely better than the Pittsburgh. So what about weight? Well, the Pittsburgh floor jack, according to Harbor Freight's website, weighs roughly about 70 pounds. And the Badland, according to Harbor Freight's website, weighs 72.6 pounds. And you have this pretty cool little carrying strap and handles to grab it by. So now for the important question, what does it cost? Well, for the Pittsburgh jack, sold by Harbor Freight as well, you can usually get them between about $80 and $90. Of course, less if you have a coupon that you can take some of that cost off with. The Badland jack comes in at a retail price, again from Harbor Freight, at $319. But at the time of this recording, they actually had a sale going on to where you could pick it up for $250. Of course, your purposes are going to vary, but that's going to be a comparison test between these two jacks. I think both of them actually are well designed and well built for what they do. The Pittsburgh jack I have now had for at least 7 or 8 years. The Badland jack I think is going to accompany me on many adventures as well as being a jack that I can utilize in the shop to get a little bit higher of a lift when I need it. So it again really comes down to what your preference is going to be, what your need is going to be, but I think I can definitely recommend the Badland jack if you need something that goes off-road and you need something that you can also use to work in your shop. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this video. If you would, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me and hit like if you think this video is helpful. Also share this with anybody who you think is in the market for a jack and maybe wants to consider this as an option. I've been Gary from Dixie Overland. The adventure is just getting started.